Mobster Boss Radio's intended audience is those over the age of 18 years old. If you are under the age of 18 years old, you should leave now. If you decide to stay, we will assume that you are here with the approval and under the supervision of your parent or guardian. Mobster Boss Radio episodes may contain foul language, adult humor, and off-color remarks. So if you are easily offended in any sense of the matter, you probably shouldn't stick around as well. All content on Mobster Boss Radio is purely the responsibility of that individual show host. Keep in mind that Mobster Boss Radio is intended for entertainment purposes only and aimed at an adult audience. So strap on your sense of humor, sit back, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Candy here. Foreplay. I just wanna fuck. You're listening to Mobster Boss Radio Live. Radio Live.
Back by popular demand.
Let's get ready to rumble!
JD. Sunny.
And Lester.
Let's do it then!
Ang susunod na palabas ay rated PG.
You're listening to Mobster Boss Radio Live with Lester.
You know, I was thinking the other day that possibly, just possibly, I've been a little rough on the conspiracy theorist. Maybe I've been just a little bit, maybe I've just not been quite as understanding as I possibly should be. And I'm not going to turn this around. I'm not kind of setting everybody up to kind of chill out a little bit and then boom, I hit them with something. I'm not. But you know, I think that I've tried to figure out, and I've read a lot. You know, I got on Psychology Today, and I read a deal about what goes on and what makes a person become a conspiracy theorist. And there's a conclusion about the psychological things that take place in conspiracy theorists, and one overall overwhelming conclusion by a lot of these psychological people, these psychologists and psychiatrists is that a lot of these people may be slow to accept conspiracy theories, but it's kind of like telling a lie. The first time that somebody tells a lie and the first time that they go ahead and jump over that edge, then it becomes easier to do. And the same thing holds true is once they bite on like a big old catfish on that bait, you know what? It becomes easier and easier for them to fall into that. But what causes them to start thinking that way? And when I say thinking that way, there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with trying to keep check on your government and try to keep if you think something bad is going on, take a look at it. But don't just form an opinion because somebody else did. Like this Alex Jones thing. You see, what I'm going to describe that I think goes on with conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists, has a lot to do with the mental makeup of somebody. And I'm not saying that they're crazy. I'm not saying they're crazy at all. But the conspiracy theories and paranoia just go hand in hand. And when people start falling into this conspiracy theory mode, as I would call it, their paranoia just heightens to just unsurmountable. I mean, it just you can't even see over it. There's so much of this paranoia, and you know, they become obsessed, you know, with political assassinations gender and race relations, stalkers, mind control, bureaucratic stuff that's gone out of control, the power of corporations and governments. And, of course, by saying the power of corporations and governments, when you mention governments, you're talking about what the government is supposedly doing to us. And this is all out of, because I think in some people, they have a hard time resolving. They need something to make sense to them, because what's going on, they've heard so many people like this Alex Jones guy talking about, well, this is going on and that's going on and this is going on and that. Alex Jones is an actor. That's all Alex Jones is an actor. And if you want to see the level that he will go to, he's gone to some pretty extreme levels to make some things happen now. But all you have to do is do a Google search of Alex Jones, and then Alex, put his name in the search bar, and then put in Y2K with him. And then you'll see, this guy got on the radio and was telling people when Y2K rolled around, he was telling people that massive power outages had taken place, and that there were food shortages and water shortages, and there was no gas. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people did go fill their tanks up because everybody was waiting for this. But this guy had been, this is going to happen, and he made the comment of military presence in the streets and all of these sorts of things. And he said this was all happening down in Austin, Texas. That never happened.
Cash machines are failing in Britain and now other European countries. They're finding large amounts of explosives in France. Vladimir Putin, who is known as Vladimir the Ruthless, and using all his profanity on national TV, you name it. We won't read the profanity here, but we've got it. This person is on an unbelievable power trip and resembles a demon. He is a creature of the IMF and the World Bank and international communism. He is a former KGB head. And this information is vital, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing the New World Order really come out in full force. More wars than have been in the last 50 years are going on right now. Reports of hundreds to thousands dying. 20 to 40,000 civilians trapped in the city. Russian Hinds are being shot down. Tanks are being blown to bits. Massive Grad unguided rocket attacks are being launched on the city indiscriminately right now. Air and artillery bombardments as well. It's absolutely out of control. It is pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. The newest developments, the Pennsylvania nuclear plant has been shut down. And the things I'm experiencing here in Austin, Texas, the shelves are empty of water and some gas stations are running out of fuel. Here in Central Texas and in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the shortwave is basically down, ladies and gentlemen. Went off right as I went on the air. This came out at 7:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, December 31st, 1999. Pennsylvania nuclear plant shut down. One of the two nuclear reactors at Pico Energy Co.'s Limerick Generating Station has shut down this morning after a piece of equipment failed. It was declared an unusual event. They got to have a serious emergency to shut down a plant, ladies and gentlemen. You power one down, you're not going to power it up for at least days. We had reports yesterday of this. Off the record, I would not report it, but I had it from a good source that this plant was having problems along with 4 other plants. I may just go ahead and report it here. Boy, do we get good information here. So that the central government, known as the federal government, the occupational government in Washington, D.C., has set up a huge $50 million command bunker hooked into all the FEMA boxes that can take over all the shortwave broadcast and commercial AM and FM stations, as well as television broadcast stations. And we hope they do not activate that, ladies and gentlemen. Police and military are on high alert, running around looking for supposed boogeymen and terrorists under every rock. Military are highly visible now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are trains of military equipment moving into Austin. The airport will be used as a massive holding facility for troublemakers or rioters here in Austin that has no history of riots. I can't even keep track of all the developing news as it's coming in. I'm not going to get into I'm not even going to say it's 6 to 7 reactors across the country. I'm not even going to. It's bad, and I got this news about the Pennsylvania plant early yesterday. Got it again off air confirmed it with someone that is 99% accurate, about like I am, trying to report the truth, and now I've got the Associated Press saying, well, they shut the whole plant down, but they call it an unusual event, the least serious emergency classification of a nuclear power plant. Well, it's got to be pretty bad for them to power a plant down. As the developments move forward with this Y2K and this gear up for clamping down in America and Russia and around the world by globalist forces, we'll be bringing you the news as long as we're here on the air. Oh, this is extremely serious. Topol M, 6,200-mile super range, multiple warhead, newest design, U.S. clone technology missiles were deployed across Russia. They're mobile. These are first strike type systems. They're also designed to survive several strikes.
There's something else I want to tell you, Alex.
Well, hold on just a second.
Okay.
I mean, this is extremely serious. Again, I was getting this information, what you just said 2 days ago, and I got it I ignored it then I got it yesterday, and now it's in the Associated Press that in Pennsylvania, where you're calling from, in the city you're calling from, one of 2 nuclear reactors at PECO's Energy Co. Limerick Generating Station was shut down this morning after a piece of equipment failed. This is just unbelievable. Many of the gas stations here in Austin have the little gloves over the pumps saying they're out of fuel. You never see this in Austin, Texas. Right here in South Austin, I've seen several stations. We don't know if this is just a Y2K that was here. Just bizarre behavior. Americans standing up as Russia threatens to attack us with nuclear weapons, as nuclear power plants, at least one, are being shut down. As the military runs around with the police and the FBI saying terrorism is imminent, absolutely out of control. Just maintain your readiness, be calm, defend your family, defend your country. But they have activated a powerful Cold War radar system in the North Pole region. That is something that is grounding out shortwave. The entire 9400 band, all throughout the 9.4000 up to 9. I mean, the military traffic is everywhere right now, ladies and gentlemen. Scrambled. We got superpower radar systems, nuclear systems up. Fresno, where our servers are located, is in the middle of a blackout, ladies and gentlemen. We're off the internet. This is just absolutely out of control. That's why the commercial stations are so important. More information coming at you on the other side as Y2K develops.
None of that stuff ever happened. But the whole time he was saying that stuff, he was trying to sell people stuff. You know, and so my point about bringing Alex Jones into this is this guy's just selling a package. He didn't do all of this. You know, everybody, there's a lot of you guys that just believe in this Alex Jones bandwagon. You know, and Alex Jones is of the mindset that if you throw enough shit against the wall, eventually something will stick. You know, if you say enough times that there's going to be an earthquake in California, you're going to be right. And if you say enough times that certain things are going to happen and this is going to happen, you know, if you run along, I mean, every day we could get on here, all of us could get on here and say, you know, there's going to be something related to terrorism, an event that's going to happen in the United States. And you know, Alex Jones kept saying a terrorist attack, a terrorist attack, a terrorist attack. Then you get some fucking nut job. You get some fucking nut job that's going to blow himself up with some kind of bomb in his underwear, and it turns out that he's just a fucking whack job. This was not like an Al-Qaeda attack. This was a guy that was going to do something mean, just like these school shootings and things of that nature. But they will be quick, these Alex Jones of the world, these people that are making money, making big money. Alex Jones is a multi-millionaire thanks to this stuff. He's been broadcasting since 1996, and I'm gonna get back on track here because you guys know I always pull it back to what I was talking about. But I want you to understand that Alex Jones has been doing this since 1996 when he started on a local cable access channel. And he actually got picked up by a local radio station and then got on some other radio stations. And he's been spewing his fear-mongering since then. And if he ever, this guy tried to take credit for predicting the 9/11 attack, for predicting 9/11. He didn't. There was another guy that did. And you know what? The cruel thing about this is he's trying to take it away. The guy that actually, sort of predicted this 9/11 thing, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. And so Alex can get up there and say all he wants, but the guy left some recorded stuff, voices from the dead, if you will. And he explains how the prediction for 9/11 came about. But it doesn't matter. Eventually somebody's going to say something, because remember, this attack on the World Trade Center on 9/11, that wasn't the first attack we had. Back in the early 90s, there was a bombing at the World Trade Center that was actually planned by a bunch of radical Muslims, or who are terrorists. I shouldn't say Muslims. Right over in Dallas, Texas, they had gotten together and they actually found all the plans to that a few years later in Dallas. But my point to all of this is getting back to the people that follow the Alex Joneses. Alex Jones has figured out that he can feed into your fear. And the only reason that you're going to get all upset about all of these different things that he says he's been trying to say is coming, he just can't seem to get any of them pretty much to get right on target. He said 3 years ago, I believe, maybe it was in 2008, I don't remember when he said it, that the dollar would be worth 10% of its current value at that time, within a year or two. Well, it didn't happen. It did not happen. But getting back to that, I think the people that fall for that, Alex has figured out how to round you people up, how to turn you people into sheeple, if you will, like the Pied Piper. And the more he puts out there, the more you guys chew up. The more you guys believe this stuff. This supposed hoax on the latest shooting, the shooting where all the little kids were killed. Newtown shooting. This is just insane that Alex Jones, who has put himself out there, and he's got a pretty big audience, I think. I mean, a pretty big following. And he puts out stuff about this being some kind of contrived conspiracy of the government. Won't even let these poor people mourn the loss of all of their children without them getting on the internet and seeing something about all of this stuff, about their kid being part of some kind of government cover-up. Their kid was killed by a deranged fucking maniac, and that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. But it goes back to the people. Some people have a hard time accepting the fact that some things just happen. And so I read this book called Empire of Conspiracy by a guy named Tim Melley, Melley. You can look it up, Empire of Conspiracy. And it tries to explain what goes on and what happens in people's minds that fall into these conspiracy theories. And if you notice, a person that is all about a conspiracy, hey, we've all known them. We all know these people. There's always that one guy, that one friend, that one person in your neighborhood. and he's into this conspiracy, and next he's talking to you about that conspiracy, and the next time it's like this person has become so gullible for who's putting this out. And again, I'm not calling the people who believe in all of these conspiracies dumb. I think that they just have a problem resolving things that happen in their mind, and they need to actually put a face to it or a blame to it. But this Melly guy, I don't know that I'm pronouncing his name right, Melley. He proposes that conspiracy thinking comes from a combination of two factors. And he's saying a combination, not just one or the other, but two factors. The first factor is that the person holds a strong individualist value. In other words, he believes that in individuality. Wow, I don't know why I'm having trouble saying that. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with believing in that. But that has to combine in this author's mind that the person also lacks a sense of control. Things out here, just these terrible things that happen, it feels like it's out of control. And you know, the first part of it refers to people that care deeply about individual rights and the rights of people to make their own choices, and the rights of people to live without interference or any type of obligation to a larger, group, being, or government. To be a way to he believes that he has the right to not have those types of influences. And then he said, when you combine these two together, though, you end up with, in the minds of the people that are susceptible to this, you end up with what he calls agency panic. And that's like an intense anxiety about the apparent loss of autonomy. Well, I'm having trouble with the big words today. And that all of that has been influenced by some kind of outside force or regulator or government or something like that. And so when people feel like they can't exercise their right or their independence, all of a sudden in their mind becomes a crisis, and then they assume that larger forces are to blame for all of this. You see, when a person refuses to relinquish the assumptions of liberal individualism, these new forms of things that they have to put a blame on, then all of a sudden they're just kind of met with a bunch of either melodrama or anxiety or panic. And it's like they need to, it just can't happen that way. So the best excuse in their mind is to blame somebody or something. Now, I'm not saying that they're trying to blame people unjustly unless they have a cause. And I don't know that guy's theory is right, but it certainly makes sense to me. And I'll tell you why. I don't believe in a lot of conspiracy theories. I just don't. I know that there's some things going on. I know that I don't believe in corporate welfare. I say I don't believe in it. I know it happens. And I know these big corporations get huge amounts of money. And when you're in awe of some big CEO or the director of this huge corporation, and if you're ever in his presence, you think, wow, that guy really made it. He's a fucking welfare recipient. Okay, I get that. And there's no doubting that the federal money goes and funds a lot of these major corporations in a lot of ways. But conspiracy theories, when they come up, when they come up about, these are things that are usually put out there that can neither be proven or disproven. You see, it's almost like going back to Alex Jones. He is to conspiracy theories what a lot of these televangelists are to religion. They put stuff out there that can't be. They're going to sell you prayer cloths. Alex Jones is going to tell you to put your money in a certain gold company that's going to send you gold, which he's going to get a piece. Turn your money, your dollar's going to be worth nothing. You're going to need gold. You've got to have gold. And let me tell you, it just so happens that I know who you can buy this gold from. Wow. Remember the money bomb that he was going to put together, got people to send in all of this money? They sent in $300,000, and all of a sudden, nothing came of that. He got $300,000 and shifted direction off onto something else. What happened with all that money? Tell you what happened to it. Alex Jones lives in a $700 and something thousand home, paid for, no mortgage. How'd that happen with a guy that's never had a job but doing this? I mean, hey, if you want to follow those thoughts, that's fine. But you know what? I think that this is real damaging to America to constantly try. It's kind of like this ban on the assault weapons. We've already been down this road. Just 3 years short of 20 years ago. And nothing happened. How many of you people have got fucking guns? A lot. And we've already been down this road. When the Clinton administration started writing and drafting this proposed assault weapon ban, and it was proposed when they started writing it in like 94 and 95. They got it pushed through, I believe, in 96. And all of the same naysayers. Of course, Alex wasn't a big name at that time, so he was just out there spouting off to people at his local access station. But my point is, people were telling you they're going to come and get your guns next. Next thing you know, they're gonna sign off your kids, and they're gonna seize everything about you, and they're gonna put you in jail, and they're gonna do all of this sort of stuff. It didn't happen, and why is that? Well, just because it didn't happen before doesn't mean it won't happen now. I don't know what to say to that. This is an assumption that right now, at this moment in time, can neither be proven or disproven. I don't understand why people. And I don't understand why people choose to, and they say, a lot of people say that, oh, well, I go out and research everything and get my own facts. Do you research any real research, or is it on some other Alex Jones type of site? I think it's really funny. There's a conspiracy theory out about the conspiracy theorist. That's right. There's a conspiracy theory out about Alex Jones, that he is a CIA plant, that his job for the CIA is to distribute misinformation, keep the people confused, so that you've got your head down trying to absorb all of this stuff that he's putting you in, while then the government can slowly just take more control of your lives, and he keeps you distracted. Now that is a conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory about the conspiracy theorists, because apparently all conspiracy theorists don't get along well. They're all too busy trying to kick each other in the fucking nuts. No, I said that before you did. You heard it here first on InfoWars. Sure you did. From Jesse Nobody. Oh my God, get real. Come on, man. I'm not, listen, I don't blame you if that's what you want to do, but I think it's wrong to sit here and do, whether you're on mainstream radio or mainstream television or Spreaker or YouTube or whatever, to sit here and tell people, well, if you think they ought to do something about the Second Amendment rights, it's time for you to pack up your shit and leave. Well, wait a minute. What? I don't think that, by the way, I see, this is how things get out of control. I do not think that they need to change the Second Amendment. I don't. As far as, I think people have the right to keep and bear arms. I honestly do. But if somebody else has a different opinion, well, why is your attitude towards them so almost violent out there? Why do you turn around and tell you, well, then you need to get the fuck out of my country. I'm a goddamn American. Oh. Hey, let me tell you something. When you're out there calling yourself a conservative, it was liberal thoughts and ideas and views that made the people reject the ideas of being controlled by the English. And it made the people stand up with their liberal thoughts of freedom and their liberal ideas of doing their own thing. It made those liberal thoughts, So for Republicans to go out and try to turn the word liberal into a dirty word, that's wrong. You should thank God. I'm one to complain about any of that. I mean, but I get it. You see what I'm saying? I get that you can't just stick a label on somebody and say, those goddamn liberals, they believe that the fags need to suck cock, they need to this, they believe this, they want the goddamn wetbacks this, and they want to give them all. That's not true. But I tell you what some of these groups are able to do. They're able to stand up for your right to free speech. I just don't get why it is that everybody, and I've noticed that these conspiracy theorists are mad. There was the CEO of some. See, now I'm going to speak about something that I can't even remember his name, but he stood up and told people that they need to get out there basically and take their arms, and he's tired of all of this stuff. And if things change one more inch, people need to get out and basically kill people and stand up for their rights to keep arms. Well, I got news for you, and I'll look that up. I'll post that on our wall up here or whatever. But this guy, the state that he resides in, revoked his concealed carry license. You guys better be careful what you wish for. I see on the news that there's some sheriffs that are standing up and saying they're not going to enforce what they deem to be unconstitutional. Well, you know what? With a background in law enforcement, I know that that's not your option. Your option is to enforce the law and to tell people that you are not going to enforce those laws. In other words, challenge the United States in federal law, basically. You don't have that option. And in fact, you might put the people in your jurisdiction in a situation that they do not want to be in. Because, and those of you that say that state law supersedes the federal law when it comes to the constitutional rights of people, you're wrong. You are wrong. There's law that talks about supremacy of law. And I have news for you, pal. Any of you thinking that way, I wouldn't stand up. I would be encouraging those guys to shut the fuck up. But now let's remember that the majority of these sheriffs that have stood up and said we will not enforce these laws, these are basically sheriffs that live in the, because remember, this is an elected official. What better way, if you know that your constituency out there has that leaning, what better way than to say, I just told the president to fuck off. Oh, and everybody's going to run to his rally and he ensured re-election, right? Yeah, and then you're going to have people that go in and start then questioning, and don't think that other people aren't at play here on the other side of that fence. Then there's going to be people that go in and start questioning. When we think of a sheriff, we think of an old Western where sheriff come and do this, and there was a big gunfight and the sheriff took the guy to jail and stuff like that. Well, in a state like Delaware, did you know that the sheriffs, that state's so goddamn small up there. I think they've only got 3 or 4 counties. But did you know that the sheriffs up there do not have the powers of arrest? Well, why is that? Let me tell you why it is. Is because it was called to question that they're an elected official, and never anywhere in the Constitution of their state, and there's not an amendment, there's not anything that gives a sheriff in the state of Delaware right to arrest anybody. His job is to basically serve foreclosure notices, conduct sheriff sales. I want you to think about that. And so what's going to happen when you get these loudmouth motherfuckers running around trying to say all this stuff and trying to basically disrespect the president of your United States? I'm not going to do this because I deem this unconstitutional. Wait a minute. It's not for him to interpret the law. If he has the powers of arrest, it's for him to enforce the law, and a judge will make that decision. Because now what you're telling me is a lot of these sheriffs who have basically not much more education than their police training, a lot of them. Why would you think it's okay that you give them the right to interpret the law and decide that that's okay or not okay? Now, we all know that if you get a ticket or if you get pulled over by your next door neighbor who's a cop, more than likely he's going to let you go at his discretion. And you go, well, see, it is not the same thing. What these sheriffs are doing are telling people that they hold the power and the knowledge to undermine the United States government. If anybody, and here's the deal, every gun rights nuts is going to stand up, yeah, man, I'm all for these guys, yeah. Dude, you don't care who comes to your side. It's kind of like on Spreaker. John Thompson did not care who came to his aid as long as it was somebody, and he even took the aid of fucking child molester people that believe that putting out shows about child molesters are okay. I tell you what, you guys better be careful what you wish for out here. I'm not for anybody coming and taking your guns. I cannot see one valid reason that you want to own a military. Most of these guys, you see these guys, these NRA guys, Ted Nugent. Yeah, the Noogie. This guy did everything he could to avoid handling a military weapon back when he might have gone to the military. Now he wants to play G.I. Joe. A lot of guns rights people are all about, now they all want to play G.I. Joe. Oh, they sit around and fantasize about what it would be like if somebody came to get their weapons and they marched this big standoff. Let me tell you something, it's not like in the movies. Why would you want a military style assault rifle? I just don't get it. The AK, anyway, never mind. But I'm not going to get into a huge deal about that. That's just crazy. But my point is what do you need with a military style assault rifle? And then there's going to be people that say, well, it's a rifle. Well, you know what? In many states, you can't even use these AKs for deer hunting. If you're going to use them hunting, you can only use them for varmint hunting. I'd be willing to bet none of you have used your rifles hunting in any way that have them. And more than likely, if you own one of those weapons, more than likely it's going to be grandfathered in, despite what Alex Jones and his infinite wisdom of everything that's ever existed in the world, despite what he tells you, more than likely, I think it's going to be grandfathered in like the last assault weapon ban was. That lasted for 10 fucking years, and nobody came and got your fucking weapons. I just don't understand it. But getting back to what I was talking about, I do understand kind of now that I've been reading this book, and I'm starting to realize that a lot of you that follow the leader when it comes to these conspiracy theories, once you adopt one, you seem to adopt many others because it's an easier way to resolve unanswered questions in your mind. Even though you're trying to answer your mind with things that may be kind of preposterous, you at least have resolved in your mind that you have an answer. Oh, it's the evil government going to do this. They're going to put people into death camps. Oh my God. That's how these preppers justify a lot of their doomsday shit. And then, there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of these prepper sites talking about when it was going to happen on December, and this was just another conspiracy theory or it wasn't, I guess it was a conspiracy theory. I don't know what you would call it. It was a theory. World was going to end, and all these preppers were doing this, and as soon as it didn't end, they said, we never said that. Now you've got to be ready for the economic collapse of America. You've got to be ready for this social unrest that's going to come and the panic that's going to ensue after when all of the grids go down and the economic collapse of the United States is going to come. You've got to, I saw a show the other night called Doomsday Preppers, and I've mentioned them before. And there was a person that lived in Florida, this woman, that said that she went and told her husband that she had a dream that they needed to move to an elevation of 3,000 feet so that they could survive. Get ready for this one. They could survive the comet that was going to impact the world. and kill 90% of the population. That's correct. And I don't know whether he humored her or fell for it, but man, he jumped right in both feet. They moved out of Florida, moved to, I believe, North Carolina, North Virginia. I don't know where they moved, but they moved to just right up over 3,000 feet. Wherever the Smokies are. Anyway, so they found this house, this huge house. And they bought it. And this woman that had owned this house, she had died years before that. But they bought this house, and once they got to going and exploring through this house, they found all kinds of prepper food, all kinds of packed grains and this and that. And in the attics, they found enough clothing for 100 people and all of this sort of stuff. Well, imagine this. As soon as they got there, this fucking whack job of a wife that this guy's got, she started having dreams that she was communicating with this woman. And then the woman would start writing messages using her hands, telling her what to do. And they are following this woman named Greta or whatever it was. And oh my God, it even got worse. Turns out that they lived in Florida. Her sons lived in Ireland with their father, the sane one. Anyway, her sons lived in Ireland. But she had been married, she'd been here a long time, and she'd been married to this guy for quite a while. And so they're up there doing all of this prepping. So her sons get to come and visit her, probably with good reason. They don't live with her. She's a fucking whack job. That's something Nick Larson didn't know about, right? But anyway, so they come there. These kids do. One looks like he's 16. One looks like he's about 12. And then they decide to tell their kids what they're doing. The 12-year-old, hell, he's up for an adventure. He's in for anything. But the 16-year-old, who's starting to figure things out, already knows his mother's fucking crazy. Telling that they get told what to do, and they keep waiting for the words and the visions to come to this world. People are crazy. People want to believe in something, and this is the way. That in some way, I don't know, she followed this idea, this thought. I don't know if they had made it up in her mind, and this was her way of resolving some scare issues. And it turns out that astronomers and whoever does all the predicting about comets say that the United States, the world is in no danger of a big meteor or comet hitting the world for at least the next 100 years. I don't understand. I'm starting to now feel sorry for people that fall because they need some kind of closure. And maybe my lack of need for closure is the fact that, my parents were gone when I was a little kid, so I never got closure there. And so consequently in my life, it's made me be able to walk away from things pretty easy without even worrying about closing it up. And maybe that's a fault of mine. maybe it is. But I know this need to belong to somebody, and to just, when you say that you think that they're going to come and get your guns, and you will embrace the thought of anybody else, regardless of their background. If they champion your cause, you welcome them with open arms. But if they are very educated and extremely knowledgeable about certain things, and they go against your cause, you don't want anything to do with them. You're going to call them fucking crazy. Problem is so many of you conspiracy theorists, you give people like Alex Jones and other conspiracy theorists the ability to exist in the form that they exist. Alex Jones makes a lot of money off of you people. Have you ever once considered that he's played there? You know, it's easy to put out half-baked information that can neither be proven or disproven. The Bible is a prime example of that. And if you say that, well, the Bible, requires faith, so I'm going to put faith in this. What, Alex Jones? Oh, and Alex for a long time was going around spouting out about the Jews and stuff like that, and it turns out that his wife's a Jew. What's up with that? And I've noticed because I listen to some of the things he said. I just don't fall under his hypnotic spell. But I've noticed a lot of the things that he was saying about the Jews, he's kind of started backing away around, and I'm just kind of curious about that. Because, a lot of these people that believe in conspiracy theories, they believe in the Illuminati. You notice, they believe in the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the House of Rothschilds, and all of this sort of stuff. And all of these conspiracy theorists seem to always have a problem with the Jews. I don't get it. I don't know. But you know what? You are entitled to your opinion. I don't think any of you as individuals are crazy. I don't. I think you have some kind of need to put a face to a situation. I think your behavior, when you start influencing other people to be as paranoid as you are, I think that's destructive, but I don't think you do that intentionally. Those of you but now Alex Jones, different story. Alex Jones is look, this guy is nothing but an actor. Now, I don't believe he's any kind of a plant to try to put out disinformation. I don't believe any of that. He's just out here to make all the money he can. Alex will be, he's done pretty well for himself, though, if you think about it. The guy will be, 40 years old next year? Something like that. And he's already worth, $5 to $10 million? Hey, not bad. Not bad for a guy that says the government's trying to keep him down. Not bad for a guy that's telling you to get rid of your dough and put it all in gold, but he actually has a traceable net worth out there. Not bad, huh? Not bad for a guy that tells you that you need to stand fast against your government and disobey laws, and you need to hold on to your weapons. Yet when the ATF called him up about a disputed serial number on a gun and told him to come up there, he marched right up there and said, "Yes, sir, how can I help you?" and complied with everything they asked of him. This is the same guy that's telling you that your government's going to put you in death camps. This is the same guy that says they're going to strap you up in these fucking cars. And you guys can look at stuff and realize that those cars, those train cars with shackles in them are actually auto transport cars. I guess Photoshop could make them look like anything else. But I just don't understand. Why can't you guys just get some of your own individual thinking? When somebody says, well, I don't believe everything Alex Jones says. Wait a minute, why not? If he lied to you once, he'll lie to you again. If he lied to you once, why would you ever trust him? He's never apologized to you. Well, some of the things that he says, I go and look up, and then you're looking them up on a goddamn site like InfoWars. Oh, there you go. Well, it's got to be true. It's on the internet. Look, I don't dislike any of you. I honestly don't. I do think there's something wrong in the way that you guys are. It's kind of like if you're going to be a conspiracy theorist, you have to be almost adopt a victim mentality constantly. Somebody's coming to get you. Always. They're out here to do something wrong. A constant victim. And do you understand? You need to be a victim. You need to place blame. Tell me that all of that makes sense. When Alex Jones tells you what they're going to do in a certain bill that nobody's ever seen yet, the proposed legislation, when it's coming out, and he told you what they were going to do, and none of that shit ever comes true. I just don't get it. I honestly don't. I think in order to follow these conspiracy theories, when so many of these people follow them on a daily basis, it just creates some kind of neurotic episodes. I don't know. I don't know. I think that maybe in some people, these conspiracy theories help them deal with distress and events. It helps them make sense out of something, I guess. But I'll tell you what else they do. They give you this false sense of security. Security. You notice I said they give you a false sense of security because this gives you a reason to believe that bad things don't ever just happen randomly. Does that make sense? I mean, it does to me, what I'm saying. I'm just trying to, I don't know. But if you notice that all of these conspiracy theorists, they're always blaming somebody. They never take responsibility for their own stuff. Even when they misspeak. So regardless of what any of you think, I don't dislike any of you. I don't think you're crazy. I really think that, I'm not going to say you need to I don't think you're nuts. I just think that you might ought to rethink that. Why the need to constantly blame somebody else? Why this need for that? Why do you fall for one conspiracy after another? There's not one show about conspiracy theories that you can turn on to on the internet or on the radio or on television that just deals with one conspiracy. Do you understand? It becomes this over-encompassing, this all-encompassing conspiracy. I mean, just this deals to blame the Rothschilds, the Illuminati, Knights of Columbus. I mean, whatever. It's the president. Jesus Christ. How would anybody like to have the job as president of the United States? You're going to take the blame for anything. You know, if that poor son of a bitch didn't stand up and say something about Newtown and that we're going to take, I don't know. Maybe you guys would be out there saying he was part of it. You notice how he didn't apologize and make the families feel good. I just don't get it. But you gun rights freaks, you have nothing to worry about. Your guns are secure. An assault weapon ban. Look, let me tell you something. You wake up in the middle of the night. And somebody's coming in your house. Why wouldn't you grab your 18.5-inch Mossberg pistol grip shotgun to deal with that intruder with? Because what do you need to do? Jump up, rub on the fucking grease paint? Tie a fucking rag around your head, think you're goddamn John Rambo so you can run out and blast them all down? I promise you, playing Army's no fun. I've actually been. You know, and everybody thinks that they're trained. They go out to a range and they hit a stationary target. Stationary target. Wow, I can group my shots and I can really do this well. But how are you going to be trained in a really high value situation to where the adrenaline's flowing, the adrenaline's pumping, how you gonna handle that with your gun that you're used to shooting a paper target with that doesn't move and doesn't shoot back? How you gonna handle that? You know, and I know there's people out there that love their guns, and there's nothing wrong with that. But why you want G.I. Joe guns? Why you want little army guns so you can and you know, I tell you something. I saw one of the down here in Texas. I saw what was the name of that militia group down here? I can't remember. They actually gave them names like Colonel, Captain, these self-appointed rank titles. And these guys down here, these guys down in Texas that was a member of that militia group that all finally went to jail, by the way. I don't see anybody standing up for their rights now that they got ousted for what they were. But they all go to jail. Turns out not a fucking one of them had a military background. And I think that seems to hold true for all these guys that want to play G.I. Joe. I don't know. But I know this. You know, I just hope that you guys can make some reason out of some of your stuff. Don't fall for every conspiracy. Don't fall for all the advertisement on Infowars.com and the 3 or 4 other sites that Alex Jones has and puts out all this stuff to try to make it look like a fucking news story when it's nothing more than just some more fucked up information that they're trying to get you to get scared about. And don't buy gold from one of his sponsors. You know, have you ever thought that maybe Alex Jones putting all this fear in people, they're going to come and get your guns, they're going to come and get your guns. So you run out and buy guns, and you go out and spend some money that you wouldn't have otherwise bought guns with. You would have paid your fucking bills. Have you ever thought that maybe the gun industry is behind some of that? Wow, that's a conspiracy theory, Lester. No, I'm just asking. Could that be? I don't know, but I just hope that you guys all kind of calm down, quit getting mad at everybody, telling people that they shouldn't challenge you. That by challenging what you say, you know, to have a discussion with somebody, don't yell at them and cut them off. Have a true discussion with somebody and realize that if somebody doesn't believe the way that you believe, they're still a human being and have the right to feel that the way that they are. You don't need to try to make these people feel bad about themselves. And there's nothing wrong with you trying to get your point across. But if you see that a person is dead fast in their thinking, why can't you be friends with those people? Telling people, well, if you think the Constitution of the United States or the Second Amendment, you need to pack your fucking bags and get out of the country. Yeah, okay. Maybe more people feel about you the same way. Maybe there's people out there that don't want your fucking guns. You know, there's even who was it that was out there that said something, one of these guns rights freaks, a big name, said that had the slaves had guns, had African Americans had the right to keep and bear arms, slavery wouldn't have been an issue worth talking about. You believe that? Because when you say that your forefathers, that our founding fathers wrote this, And they knew and saw. How come they knew and saw all of these things that would come in, that would be put in place, and worded it so eloquently about your guns? These are the same guys that believed in slavery. What happened about that? And then when Lincoln, he had a lot of opposition. And the Civil War wasn't just about slavery. There was a lot of other issues. Slavery was just a side issue, but it became a big issue later on. And he had a hard time getting people to come across to his way of thinking about slavery. And consequently, once the Emancipation Proclamation came into play, he was killed a short time later. Oh, well, I guess that's what keeps things interesting, and that's what gives us things to talk about. The problem is when people get mad and start making up excuses. I heard the other day that Obama won the election, according to a lot of people, because he bought it. He bought it. I did. He went out and paid everybody off. Oh, my God. But you know what? You wouldn't have been happy with Romney either. He's a fucking wimp. Oh, I lost. When Romney lost an election back in the early 90s for something that he was running, he told one of his key people, I will never run in an election that I don't absolutely know I can't win. They just kept him propped up. Oh, yeah, Mitt, you got it. You got this one by a landslide. Oh, fuck, he got run over by a fucking steamroller. Oh, God. I don't even care. You see, you guys think because I don't believe in all your conspiracy theories that I support Obama. The only thing I do is give the guy respect because he's president. And I'll respect the next guy who's president. Well, in this case, I'm getting the feeling after the Benghazi hearings, I'm getting the feeling that maybe Hillary Clinton, the way she owned every one of those fucking motherfuckers in her deal, I'm thinking Hillary might be the next president. So I'll respect her as well. All right, you know what? I'm going to wrap this Big Daddy up. That's right. I'm going to wrap this puppy up. And, so don't anybody think that I don't like certain people. I like all of you. I saw something in somebody's chat the other night, and apparently they were talking about somebody, and somebody said, hey, was it Mobster Boss? Are they still picking on you? I wasn't picking on anybody. But imagine that. It was some kind of conspiracy guy that said that to another guy that believes in a lot of this stuff. And it's okay. I don't know. If you have a difference of opinion about something, you're supposed to hate each other, I guess. Well, that's kind of the way we did it back in first, second, third grade, though, right? All right. Hey, this is Lester Bartholomew Jones. Don't forget to tune in to... oh, hell, it's too late for me to even say that. I don't even know who you're supposed to tune... Oh, JD and Sonny will be back in a couple of days. So, hey, wait for them. Check out Guy Shay, check out Shillbilly, check out Uncle Bobby, check out Big Tiny. Check out the Reverend Wayne Pierce, who I strongly disagree with in views, but I respect his right to feel the way he does. Anyway, this is Lester Bartholomew Jones, wishing you and yours the very best. Take care.